I feel like in the past we've said, man, quarterback is so deep, but this year it feels even deeper, and not just with serviceable players, but big upside players. We'll talk about that right now on FFT Express. Welcome, everybody. Adam and Dave here, and we're going to talk about late-round quarterbacks that could win you your fantasy league. There are a lot of them. So what we're going to do, Dave, is we're going to get the Win Your League-O-Meter out. You remember the Win Your League-O-Meter, of course.
Who doesn't remember?
Yeah. This is usually where Dave says, win your leaguometer.
Oh, that's coming. That's coming.
Okay. And I'm going to look at players going after pick 100 in our early CBS ADP. And you tell me on a scale of 0 to 10, where do they rank in the Win Your League-O-Meter? Where do they measure up? 0 to 10. Caleb Williams.
I'm going to put him at 6. I feel like he has to earn that on the Win Your League thingy. We haven't seen him really have a big string of games. I know he had 19.4 fantasy points in his final 8. 19.4 ain't going to win you a fantasy championship. Borderline QB1 in my rankings. I think he's like around 9-10 type pick, even with the new coordinator, even with, well, I should say play caller, he's the head coach, Ben Johnson is, even with the deep receiving core. I feel like he's a guy that kind of needs to prove it a little bit. And with other quarterbacks that you can take in this range, I'd rather go with someone that's got a little bit of a proven track record before Caleb Williams.
Justin Fields is next. Where's Justin Fields on the Win Your League-O-Meter?
He's going to be like a 6.5, 7. So he'll be ahead of Caleb Williams. And the fellas have done a good job of pointing out how Justin Fields has done when he's had the opportunity. Last year, 6 games, just over 20 fantasy points per game. The year before that, he was right around 20, I believe. And then 2 years ago, he was really good. I think he's got that type of potential because I don't think he's going to get benched in New York. He would have to just absolutely suck and not run the ball in order to get replaced by Tyrod Taylor in the Jets offense. I think he's a fit for this year. And I think because he's got a chance to play 17 games, or at least the games that he's healthy for, I think he can get you decent fantasy production. Not enough to say that he'll be a full-time league winner like you might have said back in 2023.
Next up next up is Brock Purdy. So we had Caleb, then Justin Fields, Brock Purdy.
Just a shade ahead, I guess, of Justin Fields, although I don't have it necessarily ranked that way. Purdy isn't somebody that really excites me. He's been the prototypical fantasy quarterback that's been high floor, low ceiling. His best year was 22.4 PPR fantasy points per game. It doesn't matter. He doesn't catch the ball. And his worst over his last 3 has been 20.5. So I think you know what you're getting with him. You can set your watch to him. Can he win your league? I'm going to say not really. So put him in like that 6.5 range.
I think he's got to be a little lower than Justin Fields. Right? You had him higher?
Yeah, I have him ranked behind Fields.
Yeah, I think he's got to be lower on the Win Your League-O-Meter.
What did I put him at? 6.5?
Yeah, but I'm sorry. I thought you said.
I think I put Fields at 6.5, 7.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
I want an apology.
Another? CJ Stroud is after Brock Purdy.
Apologize for everything. Can you buy into CJ Stroud, man? It's so tough to do, knowing that the receiving core turned over, the offensive line got turned over. We've got a new play caller. Can Stroud really bounce back in this third season after being such a letdown in the second season? I think I'd almost rather bet on Caleb Williams. Could end up being a huge mistake, but I also don't know how many drafts CJ Stroud's going to go in. So I'll put Stroud at 4.5 on the Win Your League-O-Meter.
We're going to take a breakometer right now and come back with some more names who might win you your league late in drafts. All right, so we've talked about Caleb, Justin Fields, Brock Purdy, and CJ Stroud. Justin Fields right now is the clubhouse leader, has the most upside.
What a world we live in.
Yeah, but he's underrated. He really is. Jared Goff.
We talked about it this week where Justin Fields' efficiency was actually better than Aaron Rodgers last year. And now
Jared Goff is next as a late round pick, and he was a league winner last year because, I mean, look at the last 4 games of the fantasy season: 28 points, 51 points, 31 points, 32 points in 6-point per passing touchdown leagues. So he went bonkers. What do you think about Goff on the Win Your League-O-Meter?
He's going to be the new leader in the clubhouse. I would put him at a 7.5, 25.5 fantasy points per game from week 4 on. And the new play caller in Detroit, I don't think he's quite as locked into being a stud as Ben Johnson turned out to be. But Johnny Morton knows that he can lean on Jared Goff to throw the ball. He's got 2 terrific weapons to catch the ball in Amon-Ra St. He's got more than 2, but at wide receiver, it's Amon-Ra, it's Jameson Williams. Everybody's hyping up Jameson Williams again. In Detroit, Sam Laporta is going to be a target. Jahmyr Gibbs could get more run there. And we talked about the retirement of Frank Ragnow, what that means to the offensive line. I think it could hurt Goff the most, more so than the running backs, because we know how he does when he's pressured. And last year, he really wasn't pressured that much, and the numbers bore it out. I think the Lions could be in more high-scoring shootouts this year than they were in last year. I think Goff's numbers could stay strong. He used to be what Brock Purdy was, where you just set your watch, he's 20 fantasy points. Now I think he's got a little bit more of a ceiling to him because of who he's throwing to in Detroit. So I'd rather draft him than Justin Fields. Fields might be sexier because of the legs, but Goff has the arm and the weapons.
All right, let's go to Drake Maye. Drake Maye is after Jared Goff, and he's got the legs and the arm. What do you think about Drake Maye?
I haven't loved what I've read out of Foxborough on Drake Maye, and it's OTAs and it's early. And if a dude's going to make mistakes, I'd rather him make the mistakes now. But questionable receiving core, new offense that he's learning. Yes, he can definitely use his legs to make plays. He's got a cannon for an arm. Calling him a league winner, I'm just not ready to go there. And you don't have to go there. You can put him in that category of like 4.5 or 5 on the winnerometer thing. And that's what he'd be. Seems like the perfect quarterback in a 1 QB league to take with one of your last 3 picks and see how the first few weeks of the season goes before deciding whether to keep him or dump him.
Okay, so I'm just going to read you a bunch of names, and you tell me if any of them are higher than a 5 on the Win Your League meter.
Go.
Justin Herbert.
He's higher than a 5.
Okay. How high?
Probably like a 6. I'd rather have him than Maye and Stroud.
Michael Penix.
Trevor Lawrence. He might be on the same level as Stroud.
Penix. Okay. Trevor Lawrence.
He'll be on the same level as Purdy. So like 6.5, somewhere like that, just because of the receiving core he's got. And that's a team, the defense looks terrible. The run game's a question mark. Trevor Lawrence might throw the ball like 34, 35 times per game on average. So even though he's not the most efficient quarterback, he should be able to have some good production given the receivers he's got.
Jordan Love.
Probably like a 5.5.
Anthony Richardson.
I don't know if he's starting.
He's the highest one for me. He's like an 8.
Yeah, but he could also be a 0.
Oh, for sure. But this is only the Win Your
0.
This is only the Win Your League meter. This is not
he's never helped anybody win their fantasy league unless it's a bizarro fantasy league where you get points for sucking. So
but you know what he can do.
I know what he can do, all right, and I know that he could get benched for Daniel Jones after.
It's not really part of this conversation, though. This is all about upside.
See, I don't see it that way. I think there's downside too. The difference being that as long as there, first of all, until it's clear he's starting, no one's taking Anthony Richardson outside of like round 9+. And even round 9 might be ludicrous.
It is.
Yeah, but at that value, I guess it's what the hell. Go ahead and take him and hope that he can finally put it all together. There hasn't been evidence yet that he's put it all together.
I'm just saying he has more upside than any quarterback we've talked about.
He's also got the downside to be on your waiver wire.
100%. But we're only talking about, could these guys win you your league? Of course, if you draft Anthony Richardson, you could be dropping him in 2 weeks. Yeah, but he can, if he puts it together, he has more upside than anyone.
Would you put him ahead of Drake Maye? Would you put him ahead of Justin Herbert? I would.
Would I rank him ahead
of Maye, but not Herbert? I'd put Fields ahead of him.
Would I rank him ahead of them? No, because I want to know I'm getting some production from this guy. But if I'm just playing the upside game, if we're just doing an upside list, yes, he would be ahead of all these guys for me. Richardson.
I hope he puts it all together because you're right. If he puts it all together, runs like crazy, he's going to make us ticked off about Jonathan Taylor. If he does that, he could be a top 5 fantasy quarterback, no question. But he's Huge ceiling, horrible floor, or as Heath would say, no.
Yeah, no floor. Geno Smith,
No.
Matthew Stafford, Tua
Probably not with
Tagovailoa.
Stafford.
Tua?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I just wrote the outlook on Tua. I think he's pretty underrated. I don't think he's got league winning potential. Definitely not in a 4-point per passing touchdown league. He'd probably have to throw 35 touchdowns, but I do think that he's on the short list of guys that could lead the NFL in passing yards.
The best stretch of his career was his first 8 games of 2023. He averaged 23.7.
Yeah, so he's probably not.
It's not a league winner.
No, he's not a league winner, but he could be a really great value. I mean, he's like the 20-something quarterback. He's not even a top 20 quarterback in this ADP. JJ McCarthy. What'd you say?
He's a 4.1 on the league winner.
JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, I'm not going to be crazy about him either. Kind of falls in the same bucket as Caleb Williams. I want to see it first. Love the situation. 4.5.
All right, that's 25 quarterbacks there. If you're in a super flex league, you don't have to rush in a super flex league. There's some good options. Dave, thank you very much.
I've got an early pick in a super flex league. I want the difference maker. I will rush.
But you don't have to do it for your second quarterback.
No, you don't. But getting one of those first 5 quarterbacks, I would prioritize those guys.
Yeah, right. But there's really nothing wrong with your second quarterback being Tua or Stafford.
Yeah, just make sure you have a good third quarterback.
Yeah. All right, we're out of here. We'll talk to you tomorrow on FFT Express.